I got you. All right. We're getting ready to go live. And we are live. All right. Good evening, everybody out here in the world of the 1st Congressional District. This is Jay Jones. I serve as the chair of the 1st Congressional District, all the way down here representing 15 counties, Southeast Georgia on the coast, all the way from Chatham County, Effingham County, and I'm gonna have to start getting myself in trouble because I aim all 15 counties, all the way down to Charlton County and Camden County. But we service what we call the coast. Y'all all familiar probably with Chatham County, with Savannah, Georgia, but there are all kind of conversations here on the East Coast that we really want to make sure that people understand what the Public Service Commissioner job is really all about. And it is a very, I call it the most important position. And no, I didn't say that on every Zoom. Public Service Commissioner is the most important position to me as a taxpayer because, hey man, when I cut that light on, I think about that Public Service Commissioner. When my son lets that water run in the faucet when he's brushing his teeth, and I have to tell him to cut that water off, I'm thinking about that Public Service Commission. So to me, the Public Service Commission is probably one of the most important positions out there. And so with that being said, Patty, we're going to do this a little bit different because there's two different positions on the ballot. And so along with you, I want you to kind of give an explanation because I know your situation has it where the other person is no longer around, the atmosphere. So if you can give me your little lingo to that piece right there, it'd be greatly appreciated because I'm going to tell you this, Pat, I don't know if you knew this, but they've been still trying to push him out there on the ballot. So I want to make sure you stress that piece that your name is the only name, hypothetically speaking, can move forward. And so that'll be the conversation because we didn't get a chance to do that backroom conversation. So we did it above water. So nobody can say we're not being transparent tonight. Everything is being said above water and below water. And so with that also being said, after I go into your introduction and you give me that spiel, then I'm going to go into these three lovely ladies who are above me in this camera view, and I'm going to let them go in alphabetical order. And I got to move my mouse just so I can see what it looks like in alphabetical order because I don't want, bless you, God bless you, I don't want to get in any kind of trouble. And so, Patty, can you tell us who you are and the position you're running for and any kind of details around the schematics around the details? Because I can guarantee that it is absolutely true because I did look it up for myself and I did read the article, so it's true. So, Miss Patty, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So I'm running for Public Service Commissioner for District 2, but voters don't need to worry about that. Any voter can vote for any district. There are 2 seats on the ballot, my seat and the seat that the other 3 ladies are running to claim. For my seat, there is one opponent in the race. His name is Russell Edwards. He has suspended his campaign. He is not campaigning and he has endorsed me. However, he is still on the ballot. So you will see him on the ballot for those of you who are early voting, or when you vote on May 24th, you will see his name. But please vote for me because if you vote for him, it's not going to matter since he is throwing his support behind my candidacy. And the reason that's happened is that during the race, it appeared that there was some challenge to my qualification to run. However, that challenge did not happen. And so Russell suspended his campaign because he knows that I have a lot of experience in energy and thinks I'd be the best person for the seat. I do have 10 years of experience at the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative, which is a nonprofit that did consumer research in the United States and studied a lot about consumers and the smart grid and grid modernization. And so I know a lot about energy and regulatory policy. I presented some of those findings at the Georgia Public Service Commission and have a lot of experience at the commission itself, understanding energy and regulatory policy. So I'm thrilled to be here and happy to answer questions or talk further as requested.
Thank you, Ms. Patty. And I did want to qualify and quantify and support what you just said. I did read an article. He did throw your support, and I know it's good coming from you, but I want to make sure I justified that I did see that. And so I appreciate you making
Sure.
sure you put that point out there. And so, and like you said, when I voted yesterday, it confused me because I saw his name. But I will say I did vote for you, Patty, because
Thank you.
I knew I had to vote. And so
Okay.
with that being said, next, Ms. Sheila Edwards, I'm gonna start with you, then I'm gonna go with Chandra Farley, and then I'm gonna go with Missy Moore in that order. Let's give us your reasoning and your good conversation about who you are and why you plan or why you're running for Public Service Commissioner District 3.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for hosting this event. And first, let me apologize. I am recovering from bronchitis, and unfortunately, pollen in Georgia does not help. But again, my name is Sheila Edwards, and with your vote and God's blessing, I will be the next Public Service Commissioner for Georgia. Under the current economic climate, the mission of the Georgia Public Service Commission is as important as ever in ensuring that consumers and businesses receive reliable and reasonably priced services from electric and natural gas companies, as well as transportation and telecommunications companies operating within the state of Georgia. As the next Public Service Commissioner for the 3rd District, my priority will be the ratepayers of Georgia. I will use my business, government, and community experience that the energy challenges of consumers and businesses to be addressed. I will advocate for better services at a reasonable rate that benefits all customers. I want to reduce our energy demand, embrace innovative technologies, and increase our investment in clean energy sources, including solar and wind. I will ensure our community has a seat at the table and a voice in the discussion as decisions are being made. As a small business owner that employs dozens of Georgians, I know firsthand the importance and value of a strong workforce and its impact on our overall economy. Coupled with my experience gained from working in corporate America, I have a deep understanding and appreciation for tough decisions that must be made that impacts the bottom line. As a community advocate, I focus my talents and energies in making sure our collective voices are heard by our government on the issues that impact our quality of life. I've gone before boards and commissions to advocate on interests and importance to our community. I've given the community a voice with the launch of an online community newspaper called Spotlight South Cobb News. This site serves as a vessel for our stories, which are often not shared or heard or understood or appreciated. Working in and around government on a local, state, and federal level taught me the importance of bringing stakeholders, community, and government together for a common cause. I've used these talents gained from these experiences to interface with community leaders, government, and other stakeholders on issues that matter to working families, women, children, and veterans. So again, my name is Sheila Edwards, and with your help and support, I will be the next Public Service Commissioner for District 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheila. And Chandra, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Jay, and thank you so much to the Chatham County Dems for hosting this forum tonight. Again, my name is Chandra Farley, and I am the Democrat running for Georgia Public Service Commission. I'm running to represent District 3, which covers Fulton, Clayton, and DeKalb. However, this is a statewide race, so everybody in the state votes for every commissioner. The Public Service Commission regulates Georgia Power electricity, natural gas, and regulated telephone utilities. In other words, they decide where our energy comes from and how much we pay for utilities. I am an activist at heart. I was raised by grandparents who remember not being able to vote and attended segregated schools. They instilled in me a sense of duty to always do what I can to advance justice and fairness. And after over a decade working on energy, climate, utility accountability, and social justice, there's one thing I know we pay for utilities is an issue of justice and fairness. I have spent a lot of time in front of the All Republican Commission intervening on behalf of and standing shoulder to shoulder with Georgians overburdened by unaffordable and rising utility bills. I have demonstrated outside on the street, outside of the Public Service Commission to push back on the bill increases. And I have spoken out when they voted to resume shutoffs of customers during the height of COVID, when people couldn't afford to pay their bills to no fault of their own. I have taken this advocacy all the way to Congress twice and back to Georgia. For too long, the Public Service Commission has made decision after decision that increases our bills, harms our health, and protects the utility monopoly. I am running to change that. As the People's Commissioner, I will be a voice for all Georgians, the people who feel the burden of commission decisions on their households, their incomes, and their future every single day. The promise that comes from the benefits of affordable, equitable, and innovative energy depends on a new voice and a new way at the commission. And that is what I intend to bring to the Georgia PSC. Thank you.
Thank you. Missy, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having us here. So my name is Missy Moore, and I am endorsed by Ambassador Andrew Young, and there is a reason for that. I have stood up for over 25 years for civil rights and social justice, helping our vulnerable communities. And I do have a background in energy risk management. I've worked with some of the large global energy providers, such as Brand Energy. And I've also worked with Port Authority. And I've also worked with Northwest, the railroad. So Norfolk Railroad. Whenever we're doing these kind of things, we're not only just looking at Georgia, but we're looking at how that affects every Georgian across the state. And that includes affordable housing. So we can do solar and make housing more affordable. And not only that, our utility bills have to be lowered. We have 5 Republicans on that commission. I'm running as a Democrat. We need to have a voice in the Democrat Party. Not only that, we need to look at hydro, and we also need to clean up these coal ash ponds. But we have a big state with 5 political, I guess they're just writing checks to Georgia Power and other EMCs, but we need a Go Green task force. So that's why I'm different. The task force would be across the state of Georgia, working with local leaders, feeding the information up to the Public Service Commission from your local leaders, the ones that you elect, that know your cities and towns and the issues that are going on in those cities and towns, bringing it up. We can get those resources and send it down. So thank you so much for having me.
All right, Missy. So I need the PSC to help me out because I had to take myself off mute, y'all. So Missy, don't put yourself on mute just yet because the first question is going to go to you. So
Okay.
this is the conversation, and Patty, you're going to close us out. This is the conversation, y'all. As it was mentioned in the conversation, there are 5 Public Service Commissioner seats. All right. So that means I've already got it in mind that Patty and one of y'all 3 ladies are going to serve as 2 of the 5, which means you won't have the majority. What is the first thing that you're going to bring about as far as instituting change on behalf of the Public Service Commission? And I'm going to go in reverse order. Missy, you going first. Ms. Farley, you going second. Ms. Edwards, you're going third. And we're going to close out with Ms. Duran. You have the floor, Missy.
Okay, since I know that we have to vote, there's 5 Public Service Commissioners and we have to vote and for the regulated rates for the power. So you're not going to have a majority with just 2, right? Democrats. So my number one thing, not only is to lower the rates and vote to lower the rates of your utilities, but to put that Go Green task force in place. So we're going to take the information of your local town and your community and run it up. And the more that we can bring the community together and educate them about the Public Service Commission and how we can spread the environmental changes like solar energy and hydro and cleaning up coal mines and jobs. We also need to not just close coal mines, and we need to do job training and economic development in these towns. We need to start this Go Green Task Force. So we activate the people where they are, and they can run the information up, and we can work with everybody across the state. So mobilize the people.
Ms. Farley, you have the floor.
Yes, so I've worked with the commissioners, and what we know is that right now we have an all Republican commission. And what we need to be working towards, and what is actually a part of a long-term strategy that I've been working with many organizers and advocates across the state, is a strategy to flip the Public Service Commission to a 3-2 majority over the next 6 years. So ideally, I will win District 3, Patty Durand will win District 2, and then what we will be able to do is work together over the next 6 years with the current commission to build relationships, learn about each other, and begin to put together a plan for our next cycle of every 3 years, which is happening right now. So by the time our group is elected, when we're installed on January 1, 2023, we will have another 3 years before we have our biggest opportunity to really impact the energy mix and the decisions for Georgia, as well as our rates. So I would like to work on building relationships, sharing opportunities for more affordable, equitable, clean energy, specifically focusing on how we direct more investment to energy efficiency, which is not just a strategy to lower bills, but it is a job creator and a small business economic development creator. And then in 2024, we have another opportunity to work together as Democrats to continue to elevate the profile of the importance of the Public Service Commission to all Georgians, and make sure we have a really strong candidate ready to be supported by advocates, ready to be supported by the party, so they can move into a third seat in 2024. At that point, when we have a 3-2 majority on the commission, a majority of commissioners who are willing to authentically consider the voice of those most impacted by their decisions every single day. The people who are impacted by those commission decisions feel those decisions in their households, on their incomes, in their future. So that is the strategy of relationship building. I believe that we do have a couple of commissioners that from experience, I believe are open to considering other ideas, but we've got to have a majority to begin flipping those votes. And that is what I will be working on when I take my seat on the commission.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards, you have the floor. Unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me? Good. Okay, I think that for me as a small business owner and as someone who's worked in government on a local, state, and federal level, I think the words that come to mind for me is compromise and consensus. You're right, going onto the commission, being a single Democrat is not going to be able to get everything to go my direction. So my thought is to make sure that we are sitting down and having conversations around things that we agree about. Let's get to those things first and figure out how we can compromise on some of the things that we can all agree upon. Sort of like the solar program that they launched, the PSC launched. They launched it with 5,000 participants. Well, the state of Georgia has 10.8 million people, and you have a lot of people lining up to be able to participate in the solar program, but the PSC has not made any changes to that program yet. Why not? Why drag your feet when you know people are waiting to participate in this alternative energy source? So again, looking at compromise, figuring out the things that we can get other people to move on, move from their wedge position to the center. And then we turn to the things that divide us and take those things one at a time to really look at them from a perspective that impacts the citizens, the ratepayers, the businesses, the people in South Georgia, the people in the metro area. How do we turn around and make sure that the PSC is making decisions based on the consumers versus based on Georgia Power, Southern Company, or Plant Vogtle? So again, trying to appeal to their human side and their side of what the PSC is supposed to stand for. Public Service Commission, you're supposed to be servicing the public, not the big companies that are taking their rates and putting it on the backs of consumers. You look at Plant Vogtle, and each time you hear a change order or pushback on the schedule, all of that means is more money that's going to be put on the back of ratepayers. We have to figure out how to make Georgia Power, Southern Company, and Plant Vogtle consume those extra rates instead of passing it down to the consumer. So again, figuring out how the things that we can agree on, and then turning to the things that we don't agree on and trying to build some type of consensus or find some type of common ground that we can move the needle on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty, you have the floor.
Yes, I, along with Chandra Farley, have worked a lot at the commission itself. I have met with my opponent, Tim Echols, several times, many times. I've met with other of the commissioners as well and presented testimony there. I know very well how the commission works. And to answer your question, how would my and one other person on the commission make a difference? There are two answers that I give to that. One is my opponent, Tim Echols, is the ringleader for raising rates and delivering profits to Georgia Power above and beyond all reason. In fact, in the 2019 rate case hearing, he delivered more profits to Georgia Power than they even asked for, which was shocking to a lot of us in the energy industry watching it. I took all 38 decisions that came out of that 2019 proceeding, put them in a table, and analyzed whether or not the commission granted Georgia Power's request or granted the staff and interveners requests, which the staff and interveners are the people that oppose the $2 billion rate increase that Georgia Power is asking for. And I analyzed that, and I determined that 99% of the time, the commissioners granted Georgia Power's request. So let's not be naive. There is no compromise or consensus that's needed. There's only votes. And if I can defeat Tim Echols, that would be a shot across the bow at the commission that it's not business as usual anymore. And the votes that they have delivered to Georgia Power need to change, or the rest of the commission will not be able to continue in their seats, that the people will defeat them. And so along with Chandra Farley's ideas and plans, we will flip the rest of the commission and work with the commissioners who realize that the day of rubber stamping Georgia Power's requests are over. And that next opportunity after the two of us is 2024 for the next commissioner up for election. So I do agree with Chandra that the long-term plan of relationship building for the commissioners who will work with us and defeat for the ones who won't is the only way that we're going to change this commission to be something that serves the people of Georgia and serves the public interest and does not prioritize utility profits over people.
Thank you. So my next question, I'm gonna go ahead and start with Chandra, and then I'm gonna go with you, Missy, then Miss Patty, then we're gonna close out with Miss Edwards. All right. So coming out of the and Patty, you know this, coming out of the fact that in 2020, the Public Service Commission that will actually represent our area, which probably has more counties than any other area out there, and I don't understand how we have. It seems like we have 1,000 counties in our little area, but Our public service commissioner was in close competition. He was supposed to be the one, and I didn't say it at the beginning of it. If you did not know, Robert was the guy who actually ran for our area. He had some situation with his father, and so he said he couldn't make it. So that's okay. We're gonna move forward. But Robert, when he ran for this, I started taking more interest in what the public service commissioner was all about. And so when I came up with it, I came up with an acronym. And that's how I was able to keep a better understanding of what the Public Service Commission does. And so the acronym was NET. NET stands for natural gas, electric, and telecommunication. And so those are the three major pieces that y'all actually have to be involved in the conversation. And then I did a deeper dive, and I found out that Chatham County only deals with Georgia Power when it comes to energy. And so this is a personal question to me. It may not be like that across the whole state of Georgia, but I was under the impression that deregulation or there wasn't any monopolies be able to exist. And I know in the county sense, it could be something different. But what can we do to educate the citizens? Because unfortunately, Patty, Tim Echols, he's come to Chatham County 1,000 times and before. And he'll say one thing, but he gives another.
Yes.
And so what are you going to do to make sure the net, natural gas, electricity, and telecommunication is better understood by the citizens of the state of Georgia so we can understand how important these PSC positions really are? And Chandra, I'm starting with you. I said I'm going with you, Ms. Moore, Ms. Edwards, and then Ms. Patty, then Ms. Edwards. In that order. You have the floor.
Thank you, Jay. And yes, I have also experienced the egregious actions of Commissioner Tim Echols, who, as Patty pointed out, voted to raise our rates in 2019. And at the same time, he was sitting at the Public Service Commission presenting his motion to raise rates in addition to the other decisions that he was putting forward as the ringleader. At the same time, he was organizing an event to come to some of the most energy burdened neighborhoods in Savannah, Georgia, to pass out energy efficiency kits. Because what he knew is that no one in those communities knew that he had just voted to raise their rates. And then he gets to leave the commission and come into our communities and act like a hero. And I've had it with that. And so what we have to do, education is key. Education, education, education. And the work I've done over the last decade has been specifically focused on that. Going around the state, going around the region, and just talking to residents and making sure that they understand, one, that the Public Service Commission regulates Georgia Power electricity, gas, and regulated telephone services. Two, that they understand that in addition to Georgia Power, we've got over 100 utilities in Georgia. We've got about 50 municipal utilities. We've got about 41 electric membership cooperatives, which are independent nonprofit utilities. But they all work together and are beholden to Georgia Power in some way. Many of those municipal utilities and electric membership cooperatives are all bought into Plant Vogtle. So even though the commission doesn't regulate their rates, they understand that their customers will also be impacted by those rate increases. So when we get people involved, been holding what we call chat and choose around the state. Energy Equity 101, Just Energy 101, just giving people the basics, doing bill reading sessions so people understand all of the different fees and rates that go into what makes up their bill. So they understand that when Georgia Power says, oh, well, we have some of our rates are below the national average, they understand that rates equal bills. And what people are worried about paying every month is the bill, not individual rates. So we have to continue to have a massive organizing and advocacy and education effort around what the Public Service Commission is, so we can have more buses of people, as I have helped organize from Savannah and Middle Georgia, coming up to Atlanta to speak out at the Public Service Commission. And then we also want to make sure that we have plenty of people ready to run for those utility commission seats and people ready to run for the boards of their electric membership cooperatives. And when we do that, when we begin, the more of those seats we begin to flip, the more you are talking to voters, the more you are educating them about why it's important to vote for these seats and run for these seats, we can begin to move Georgia towards a more equitable and innovative energy future.
Thank you. Miss Missy Moore, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you for that question. Again, everybody's speaking about education, so I think that we really need to think about this Go Green Task Force, no matter who moves forward, and working with those leaders across the state, and getting the vote out. I mean, just going back to our forefathers, and going, okay, we got to get that vote out, and this is why. And again, that is affecting all of our rates. So the number one highest rate is our residential rate. So Jay, that's what you're looking at. It's not the big Amazon plant that has the highest rate. It's your house. Okay, and it's then the next one is the small business owner. So that's what we need to do. We need to educate everybody, and that Go Green Task Force with the leaderships in place, with the local leadership, just like Get Out the Vote. We need to work hand in hand with them, the GOTV people, and let them know this is what they're doing to our communities, and this is what they're doing to our small businesses that create our communities. So again, we need to let them know that it's on the backs of the residents and the small business owners that the nuclear plant's being built out, the most expensive nuclear plant in the world, and that's out of our paycheck. So somebody's got to stop them, and we have to organize, and we have to stay organized and get those voices in. And it's nice to work with one community and bring in one group to the Public Service Commission to talk to them or to rally, but we need to do a overhaul of Public Service Commission, because nobody really ever knows about what this is. So that's why we've got to start with education, which everybody's speaking about here. So thank you so much.
Patty, you have the floor. Patty Duran, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. I've got two pretty big ideas on how to answer this question of education. One is I've got friends in the Georgia legislature who have committed to dropping a bill to rename this agency Public Utility Commission, and then people would know in 2 seconds what it does. Public Service Commission doesn't mean anything to people. Public Utility Commission would mean a lot. That's really what it should be called, and that's what it's called in many other states. The other area of consumer education I want to focus on is that of the way I did it when I worked at the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative. About half of our budget went to consumer education, and we did it through a multi-pronged approach. We did it through a website, we did it through social media, we did it through earned media, which is when you do things that are newsworthy and get coverage because of that thing that you did. And we did it through YouTube videos. So I have a lot of experience. I have 10 years of experience. And in that role, I also was able to secure a grant from the Energy Foundation and went around to about 12 state commissions, maybe 15 across the United States, and attended their workshops on consumer education, rate plans, and accelerating clean energy. And so as commissioner, I would bring all that experience to the seat. I know how to educate consumers because I did it successfully for a decade at SECC. I know how commissions should actually operate to engage consumers in ways that I've seen other states do that are not happening in this state. And one of the most heartbreaking things that I saw from the 2019 rate case hearing was when I secured a copy of all the customer comments that Chandra Farley helped turn out to oppose that rate case, over 70 of them, and I read them all. and the commission ignored all of those comments. There were some wins along the edges, but generally they ignored public comments. And that was really heartbreaking. And so that's why we need new leadership on the commission, people that actually care about customers and will listen to the customers when they provide input. So I would hold workshops, I would do social media and earned media, and I would work to change the name of the commission so that the public understands what this agency does.
Thank you, Patty. Sheila Edwards, you have the floor.
Thank you. Most people have never heard of the Public Service Commission because the commissioners do not reach out to constituents. Instead, they stay behind closed doors and make decisions that impact us. And we're never able to weigh in on those decisions. The commissioners need to prioritize the community and prioritize community engagement, be it with schools, civic organizations, businesses, community organizations, industry groups, or even individual voters. There needs to be more stakeholders involved in the conversations that are being had and the decisions that are being made on behalf of the citizens, the ratepayers, be it a citizen or a business. There needs to be more consensus in the decisions that are being made. The Public Service Commission should also lower the barriers for people to participate in high-profile cases. The commission should conduct field hearings, encourage public participation. In Georgia, with Georgians living outside of the metro Atlanta area, and that impacts you young men down in South Georgia. We have, a lot of people don't realize that in Georgia, we have the third highest utility bills in the country. And even as other southern states are doing things to reduce their bills, and embracing new technologies, Georgia's fallen behind. And there's a lack of vision and a lack of leadership from the Public Service Commission. So we need to put a spotlight, for lack of a better word, on these things so that we're bringing down these bills. We're creating new jobs. We're investing in a Georgia that provides opportunities for everyone to earn a good living. And we're doing meaningful financial penalties against these companies when they try to raise these rates and put these rates on the backs of ratepayers. You talked about your concerns relative to your bills. Well, I live alone and I just had to pay a utility bill that's over $400. And I'm trying to understand how one person can generate enough utilities to be over $400. So there's a problem there. So we need fresh eyes. We need a new voice. And even though there's a female on the commission, it's the good old boys. They're making decisions and they're running things how they want to run it. I looked at my opponent, my Republican opponent in the race, and I looked at his financials, and he was appointed in July of 2021. He has raised over $303,000 for his campaign. Where is these funds coming from? Who is financing and trying to make sure he stays in place? It's the same people that are turning around and putting those rates on the backs of consumers. So we need to make sure that the decisions of the next, the decision for the next Public Service Commissioner is in the hands of the voters and not policy wonks and other people who want to piggyback on each other's comments. And we need to urge citizens to do their homework to determine who the best person is that can represent them. And I believe that's me.
I appreciate that, Ms. Edwards. And so Patty, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna start you off with this next question because I kind of want to hear a viewpoint from the three ladies who are actually running for the PS3 seat. So Patty, I'm gonna let you go first with this question, and then Ms. Edwards, Ms. Farley, Ms. Moore. We're gonna go back in the original order as far as after that. And Patty, I know you're very familiar with this. I know your extensive background with this conversation, and this is something. I remember having a conversation with Tim Eichels. I used to be on the EOA board in Chatham County, and that was the first time I met Tim Eichels. And that's when he told me about all the good things, quote unquote, that Georgia Power was going to be able to do for us as far as rate increases. I mean, not rate increases, but helping with sustainable electricity and all other stuff like that. But my question that always tipped at the top of my head was how rate increases happen. How rate increases happen. And so from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, usually a utility files a petition, a study is had, some parties who are interested in the conversation deliberate on it, a hearing is conducted, maybe the commission probably says yeah or nay on the rate order, and pretty much, but if you're all in the same no, how do we break the monotony of that piece right there? And I guess, I know that's a convoluted question, but I hope you understand where I'm trying to go at.
Of course.
With that question, Patty.
Yeah, it's not too complicated once you understand how monopoly regulation works in energy markets.
Mhm.
There's a concept called a rate base, and that is a big bucket that all of the costs that the utility has spent gets put into. And it includes power plant construction costs, it includes fuel costs, it includes operation and maintenance costs, and it includes depreciation and some other things. And so Georgia Power has, I forget how many billion, I think it's $12 billion annual rate. I forget the exact name, but the bucket that the rate, all those costs get put into. And then they go before the commission and they say, we have increased expenses. We have this new thing we're building. We want another $2 billion to pay for X, Y, and Z. And then the commission can approve, modify, or decline. This commission has never declined or even modified any of the requests Georgia Power has taken to them. And one of the appalling things I've seen is that other states do actually regulate their utility, but in Georgia, they don't. There's a concept in economics called regulatory capture, where the regulators just do the bidding of the regulated and then deliver to the regulated everything they ask for. And it's that disappointment and frustration that I've seen that has just enabled me to decide to run. So of course, the consumers, people like you, people outside of the energy industry can't know that, and really doesn't need to know that, because that's our job as commissioners, is to understand how that works and to work on behalf of the public interest to make sure that the bucket does not grow bigger than it needs to grow. And there's so many programs that help reduce those costs that are not happening in Georgia that we can talk about later if there's time.
Yes, ma'am. Sheila Edwards, you have the floor.
Okay, well, we shouldn't kid ourselves about this. And for anybody who's followed government, followed decision makers, you should know that the decisions are already made before the meetings even had. And they put on a show to make you believe that they're coming to them for the first time. This is information they're just hearing, all of these different things to make the public believe that they're going through the processes of hearing a request, listening to the arguments, and then making a decision. The decisions are already made. All of this is theater for the benefit of the public. And usually, again, the decisions are already made. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you're getting someone and you're electing someone to the Public Service Commission that understands government, that understands stakeholders, and understands how to advocate for the other side of the coin. With God's blessings, I enjoy a good life, but I've never been able to turn my back on the little people, the people who struggle for affordable housing, the people that struggle to try to make sure that they can pay their bills, the people that have these struggles in life through no fault of their own. And so my objective will be to make sure that whomever is coming to the commission is coming with the best information that is not going to saddle consumers with additional bills. My thought process will be, how do you turn back the clock? How do you make the needle go the opposite direction to reduce the rates if you look at the numbers for Georgia Power and Southern Company, they're astronomical. But yet we're still getting touched with these additional rates and these additional increases. Why? We have to challenge them, and we have to ask these questions and make sure that we've got good information, and that we're not just going along with a situation to get along. And that's why the citizens of Georgia should elect me, because I will be that voice, I will be that advocate, and I will be that person making sure that Georgia Power, Southern Company, and all the other utilities are coming correct, and understanding that my focus is going to be the consumer. My focus is going to be businesses. How do we help the little people instead of continuously helping the bigger people get bigger? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Farley, Ms. Chandra Farley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jay, and it is getting dark again. And could you restate your original question, please?
So the question is this, and let me pull it back up since anyone came. So we all know that there's a process. We always want to talk about the process as far as how rate increases actually happen. And so I broke down the process. The utility files a petition, Public Service Commission does a study of the petition, interested party intervene and talk about, discuss, and deliberate on it. And then a formal rate hearing is conducted. And then, commission actually issues a rate order. And we all understand when you have everybody in the room who is of the same party, same conversation, like it was alluded to earlier, before all this even procedure actually happens, the decision is 90% already made because of backdoor conversations, whatever, with the utility companies. So if you step into the gate or the guard as far as it's concerned, what is your thought process of that? Or what is your conversation? Do you change it? Do you like it? You not like it? Just elaborate as far as the conversation with regards to that process.
Sure, and that is definitely true, right? In a lot of places where you come together, you've been working with advocates, you think you're having good conversation, and and you feel that those decisions have been made. And actually with our rate case, which is what we call that process in Georgia that happens every 3 years, which will come before the commission probably late July, early August, is when Georgia Power will file that petition, because it follows the current process that is going on right now in front of the commission called the Integrated Resource Plan. Again, another process that happens every 3 years. So they do this process, like here's where we're going to get the energy from, here's all the things we need to build, or here's all the programs we need to do. They get that passed, and then they say, okay, now here's how we need to pay for those things. But that 3-year process is ongoing. And as someone who has been a part of a couple of the working groups with the commission staff and with the utility, again, impacting that process across the long term. So this is really the 3rd year of that 3-year process when these energy mix conversations and rate conversations come before the commission. So the time, we're always talking about rates, but even when advocates are proposing programs, even when the own staff is bringing their case in front of the commission, we've got to be working at those levels before, so we understand what the rate impacts are going to be of the decisions that advocates are advocating for, and also what we can see coming down the pipe for what the utilities might be planning for. And we saw this play out in 2019 in particular. Georgia Power asked for, 7+% rate increase, but what they also did is ask for an almost doubling of the fixed fee on people's bills. And this is a fee that a lot of people don't even see. Sometimes you have to request a special bill to see this fee. And these are popping up all across the country, these fixed fees, because this is how the utility is trying to continue capturing what they see happening: more energy efficiency, more solar programs, more distributed clean energy programs, are helping people reduce their bills, which is helping them reduce their utility costs, which is reducing revenue for the utilities. So they are finding ways to push back on that, and fixed fees is one of the ways that they do that. So we do have to keep a check on these different types of rates that they are putting into, as Patty talked about, the rate base, particularly with Plant Vogtle. We know that they will be trying to put that into the rate base this fall, and our bills will go up again. So it's about keeping up with these processes, understanding. In addition to those rate increases, one of the decisions was to protect Georgia Power's return on equity. Georgia Power has one of the highest return on equity in the nation. You know, why is that happening? And we have the ringleader, as Patty talked about, you know, on the commission, literally fighting for that. You can watch these things happen in the decision room as it is happening real time. And those motions can come from commissioners out of nowhere. So we have to be ready. We have to be informed, and we have to be educated with an alternative that we can put forward before we even get to the decision-making room. And so that's the inside game, but it is critical that we continue to build up our outside game, where we have the advocates, where we have the organizers, where we have the people who are mobilizing community to make sure that these decisions do not go unnoticed. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, Georgia Power and Southern Company, they love to talk about being a citizen wherever they are. Their image is very important to them. And we have to continue to shame them. We have to continue to call out these bad decisions on the outside while we work on the inside to make sure we're changing these processes. And running and now working this process from the inside out is one of the reasons that I am running to be the next Georgia Public Service Commissioner.
All right, Miss Missy Moore, you have the floor. Do I need to restate the question? You got it.
I got it. It's no problem, Jay.
You got the floor.
Thank you so much. So one of the things I want to reiterate, such as what Sheila Edwards said, is that these are backroom deals. I mean, obviously, these rates are not just going up on their own. And we could say, oh, well, you know, we're coming into this rate and this is why. But it's all about justification. And so they just keep justifying reasons to raise the rates. So the next thing will be, you know, we have the most expensive nuclear plant being built in the world. So the next phase, once these are done, they're going to, because there's actually going to be there's two other ones that are aging, right? There's 4 phases of it. 2 of them nobody ever talked about because it wasn't costing us a lot of money and it was being really efficient. But now they're going to look at these 2 old ones and go, oh, here's another justification reason of raising our rates, because we're going to have to do this and that, or we're going to need to buy a battery. We're going to, just striking all these deals. But what's ironic though, Jay, is that Georgia Power is a private held company. It has stockholders. Why are we as consumers paying for a private company to be built out the way we're paying them to be built out? We're not paying for our local barbershop to be built out before we get our haircut. That barber has to pay for the build out and the betterments and improvements and do all the risk and take that on, and then we pay them to make their money. Why are we putting the risk out? Why are we paying for their build out? That's not, when that nuclear plant is done, that doesn't belong to us. Okay, so they're just, they are taking advantage of the people. And again, it's on the backs of the residents, it's on the backs of the small business owners. And then lastly, they're making deals with the bigger business owners. I insure large business, cities and counties. Okay, I insure manufacturers, you know, so I understand that there's, you know, I look at the P&L. So there are absolutely, you want to know why this is going on? Because there's 5 Republicans, 4 of which were appointed by the Republican governors, and we need voices on the commission. So we need to educate, we need to activate, we need to go green task force, and we need to get people in here that care about affordable housing, that care about our environment, that care about our health, that care about, our children with autism, that we don't know why they're being, they're being diagnosed with autism. My son has autism. Why? Why do we have so many rates of this? Because of the environment. Okay, I have asthma. I mean, we have a ton of issues, and cancer is rampant. All of this goes back to public service commissioners. So yes, I do agree with Patty that we need to introduce legislation. I've worked with senators and legislators on legislation and introducing legislation for decades, and to help people and awareness, and including autism. And the name should be changed to Utilities Commissioner. That's how I'm describing it all the time. I want to be, the people's advocate, Utilities Commissioner. But the name is Public Service Commissioner on the ballot. So thank you for that question.
Thank y'all for y'all replies. So in the chat, Nancy Funny said, good evening. I am very concerned about the appointments, and I guess that's what you were alluding to earlier, versus a special election for citizens to vote who should represent them in this capacity. I'm very frustrated about the ongoing increase. Stop protecting utility companies' investments and aligning personal accounts. And they said, thank you to that. And then they add a second comment. And let me see if I can pull it up. It is apparent that the current commission cares nothing about the citizens of the state of Georgia. I don't know what reports they're reviewing or reading. They missed the AJC article that stated Georgia is in the top 5 states at highest utility costs. Why? Who is currently challenging the current commission on decisions they are making. I smell ethics issues, and I'm not going to go into whether it's ethics issues or right, wrong, indifferent, or anything like that. I do agree with the appointments. And Patty, I talked to Patty, and it's nothing against everybody else, but I have had conversations with Patty in the past, so therefore I talked to Patty. But the one thing I do know for certain, that the Public Service Commission has been passed on more than a dollar bill in most cases. It never goes before an actual election. It's never an incumbency, a true incumbency, I should say.
Yeah.
It's always before the end of a term, somebody passes on to somebody else. I can't say that without even really, truly having a full understanding of the history of it. But I know in the last 10 years, it's been that problem. So I agree with the frustration, but that's not something I say that this group of people can actually do. That's something I guess the governor would probably have to pose the state legislature to actually put in term limits, or put in an act where they would not be appointed versus they would have a special election. And so that's a changing of the guard. And I don't foresee until we change the government structure, where, i.e. the governor and state legislature in the favor of Democrats, where Republicans become the weaker side, where they would try to enact or try to propose this kind of legislature. And would we stand guard to follow suit when we're actually in charge is a whole nother question in his own regards. But I say all that not to ramble, but just to make sure that that's what was mentioned in the context of the conversation behind closed doors. But if I ask y'all 1 minute, and I'm not going to even go in order, I mean, y'all can go 1 minute around the table for all I care. 1 minute, what is your thoughts about those appointments? It is the Public Service Commission is a 6-year term. And if someone doesn't fulfill it, I mean, what is y'all thought process? And I'm not going to ask an order. I'm just going to ask, a question. What is y'all conversation as far as it even being a 6-year term, or even where if it can't be fulfilled, what's the best what's the best way you feel should be fulfilling the expired term, so we can make sure we have fair, impartial, people-led politics in the Public Service Commission? And Once again, y'all can raise your hand and I'll just say that person raised their hand first. Ms. Edwards, you can go first and then we'll go in order after that. You have the floor, Ms. Edwards.
Okay, I really appreciate you touching on that because it's been the conversation that I've had the last several weeks with a lot of folks about appointments or non-appointments. I'm a big fan of The Godfather and The Sopranos and all of that Italian mafia, this, that, and the other thing, and how they create situations so they stay in the family and nobody else can break into it because it's the family. And unfortunately, with the PSC and the governor who appoints or the people who elect them, they created such a dynamics that they don't ever come out of office. They stop midterm, and then the governor gets to appoint somebody who gets to finish the office and then run. But they run as an incumbent, and everybody knows, incumbency has its advantages. So they've created this kind of monopoly where you can never break into it because they're always going to have that turning over and over and over. So that I think the newspaper said that it's probably Governor Barnes's term since the Democrat was on the commission. And that's unfortunate because our state is comprised of more than just Republicans. Our state is comprised of more than just people at the top echelons of the economy or the paycheck or whatever else. So we have to make sure that we have diversity in terms of our representation on the commission. We have to make sure that we have people that can look out for the little people who can't speak up for themselves or don't know how to speak up for themselves. And so I do believe that the public there has to be a public uprising because the governor's not going to do it because it benefits him and whomever is around him. And that's why he's making the decisions that he's making. The legislature's not going to do it because, again, they're supporting whatever issues the governor wants them to support. It's only going to be when the people decide that they've had enough. And the people have to be educated about what's going on. Again, Public Service Commission, when I decided to run, a lot of people were like, well, what is that? And they didn't know. And it was striking to me because this impacts all of our lives. It impacts everything that we do. And so, making sure people are educated, making sure that they understand that they have a voice and their voices collectively can bring about change. But when we operate as a person over here and a person over there and a person over there, it's never going to be anything that happens. And, I failed to mention to you that I was David Scott's first district director when he went to Congress. And so I saw how he worked both sides of a situation. And he didn't do that by trying to shame people. He did it by trying to make sure that he built consensus. Again, trying to find the things that you can agree on, and then looking at the things you don't agree on, and then trying to, see things from other perspectives, and hopefully getting other people to see things from your perspective. So again, I think that it's going to need public engagement and public uprising. The same thing that's going on with, I hate to delve into this, but the news that broke last night about what the Supreme Court is trying to do in terms of overturning the abortion law. And so, and only when people come together and speak out and protest and challenge what's going on is there ever going to be any change. And again, the other way to bring about change is electing the right people to be an advocate for you. And that's why I'm hoping the voters will elect me as their next public service commissioner.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Well, okay. Well, we'll close out on that piece right there. The main thing, so with that being said, we're going ahead and close out our time spent here with Public Service Commission. Patty, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and put your spiel out there. So you and remind us just in case somebody got in late, got in early, the situation around tied to your seat in our co-stamp it because, I mean, I did verify that. So Patty, you have the floor.
Thank you. So as Jay asked, I am running for Public Service Commission, District 2. I am unopposed. You will see a person's name on the ballot named Russell Edwards. He has suspended his campaign and has endorsed my candidacy. So please vote for me. And I want to also add that about 5 years ago, I was watching and working in energy regulation in Georgia. And I observed, I went to a meeting. There's a lot of energy conferences and workshops that go on in this industry. I went to a meeting with my opponent, Tim Echols, as a speaker. I was in the audience as someone that works in energy along with 30 other people. And at that time, I knew there was a problem at the Georgia Commission with the amount of profits that Tim Echols in particular was leading the commission to give. And so during Q&A, I asked him a question. I said, Commissioner, can you please tell me why? First of all, is it true? Because I wanted him to admit it, that Georgia Power earns an unusually high rate of return on equity and ROE. And if that's true, why you feel that's justified? And he said, yes, it's true. And the reason I think it's justified is that we want our utility to have the best of everything. We want them to have the best and newest trucks. We want to have the best and best grid. We want our employees to get paid the most. But what he didn't say is that that drives high bills, and that creates pain for over 2.7 million Georgia Power customers who's paying for the best. And at the end of that 2019 rate hearing, where the commission handed Georgia Power record profits, the board of Southern Company was so thrilled with Georgia's PSC ruling that they decided to give Tom Fanning, the CEO of Southern Company, the highest and richest compensation of any utility CEO in the nation, $28 million that man made on the backs of Georgia's residential customers. It's a scandal, it's disgusting, and it should stop. And so those years ago, when I realized there was a problem, I worked with Chandra Farley, who at that time was running the Just Energy program at Partnership for Southern Equity. I gave her a lot of content and information for her nonprofit to push out into her educational and social media platforms. Educating consumers is a big lift. It's very, very tough. And Chandra and I have been on the front lines of that for at least 5 years. For I don't know her tenure before PSC, but for me, it's been 10 years. And so I would say that we have the credentials, the experience, the hard work, the ethic, and the relationships to push this from the state agency that we have been pushing from the outside. And it's time for us to be on the inside. So I urge you to vote for me. And I also urge you to please vote for Chandra Farley, who is a hard worker, well-connected, really smart, and will do a great job on the commission.
Thank you, Patty. And Miss Missy Moore, we're going to start with you. We're going to go with Chandra, and then we're going to go with Sheila in closing. Missy Moore, you have the floor.
Again, Jay, thank you for having me here tonight. And I appreciate, a couple of these people working together and endorsing each other. But, there's a lot that goes into working with a community, not only in energy, which I've worked in energy, not only in the political realm, which I've worked in the political realm, but also in the civil rights realm, which I've done that as well. And just people's rights, animal rights. We have to look at everybody's rights and where they live and affordable housing and also affordable living, affordable wages. We need to be pushing the Public Service Commission for all of these things and to be equitable and not to be funding them to pay their stockholders. Why are we paying their shareholders on the backs of our residents and small business owners in Georgia? I have no idea. And that's why I'm running as the first Hispanic woman on the Democrat ticket in Georgia. It's not about, woman or Hispanic or what color we are. Democrats, we're standing here as the voices of the people. And I think we can all agree on that, that we need to educate. We've heard that all night, educate everybody about what this is. The Utilities Commission is the Public Service Commission. Every time you turn on a light switch, it's done by the Public Service Commission. Those rates, those huge bills that we're receiving in the mail. The other thing is we need to look at solar expansion, again, to bring affordable housing to Georgia. There's 150,000, somebody was asking where all this money came from our Republican opponent that's appointed into this commission, District 3. He put $150,000 of his own money into this. So he's a former owner. One of the things he's done is he's a former owner of the women's soccer team, the Atlanta Beats, and ran for commissioner, and it was not a successful run. But $150,000 of your own money to go in and run for this seat, and then match it with more money. Whoever wins this seat for in the primary, and I hope it's me, Missy Moore, because we've got to be able to bring the people together, the resources together, and we've got to make a case of why we need to win this. It's not, obviously they're up to cahoots, and that's why there's over $300,000 in that coffer. So again, I'm endorsed by Ambassador Young. I'm very honored to be endorsed by him. The Stonewall Democrats in reference to Roe versus Wade. So that speaks volumes on that front. And I'm also endorsed by Gwinnett Forum, and other ones are coming down the line. But I really want the voters' endorsement by their vote in every individual in Georgia. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for having us, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Chandra Farley, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Jay. And thank you to the 1st Congressional District Democrats for putting this together tonight. We are at a really important point. The clean energy transition to a clean energy economy has been happening. And Georgia and our communities, our Black communities, our rural communities, and our low wealth communities are being left behind. And they are being left behind because there has been no voice at the Public Service Commission who is willing to stand up for the people, who is willing to speak for the people, and who is willing to lift their voice and make space for the voices of the people who feel the impact of commission decisions on their households, their incomes, and their future every single day. These are immediate impacts. These are short-term impacts. When the commission makes a decision to raise rates in December, people see that on their bills in January. So after spending the last decade of my life working on energy, climate, and utility issues, and always with a lens of justice and fairness, it is critical that we all understand that where our energy comes from, what our energy mix is, and how our utilities priced is an issue of justice and fairness. And we can leverage the power of the Georgia Public Service Commission to make sure that as we continue to make this transition to a renewable, clean energy future, that the people of Georgia, the residents, the small business owners are not being left behind. And as I said, I am running for commission because I have spent a lot of time in front of this commission, standing shoulder to shoulder with Georgians overburdened by rising utility costs and unaffordable bills. So it's time that Georgians, not just the utility, have a voice at the Public Service Commission, and I intend to be that voice. I understand that the community benefits that flow from affordable bills, clean energy for all, environmental justice, and utility accountability depend on a new voice and a new way at the commission. And so I would like to ask for your vote and for your help in spreading the word about how important the Public Service Commission is to our daily lives, and that Public Service Commission decisions are impacting all of those kitchen table issues that Georgians are grappling with every evening. So again, my name is Chandra Farley. I am the Democrat running for Georgia Public Service Commission, District 3. And I look forward to working with all of you and continuing that we raise the profile of this most important office that most people have never heard of. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra. And Ms. Sheila Edwards, you close us out for me, please.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jay, for hosting a wonderful forum. It's been very informative and very helpful to be able to get our messages out. Again, I am Sheila Edwards, business owner, community advocate, and candidate for Public Service Commission. Community advocacy, empowerment, and helping others has always come natural to me since I was a child growing up in the low country of South Carolina. Since moving to Metro Atlanta with my family in the 90s, I've been steadfastly working to better the lives of others around me. As a proud Georgian, I've been involved in genuine issues that impact the quality of life for families, seniors, and veterans. From advocating for a community free of waste dumps and landfills to advocating for affordable housing and better economic development. I've done it all and I've not slowed down yet. I am running as an individual, so I will not insult the voters or the participant on this panel by endorsing someone because only the voters vote matters. Anyone and everyone who has a desire to run for office can run. This does not belong to any one person or group, and no one can turn around and tell you that you're not good enough to be on the ballot. I'm running to advocate for all Georgians to ensure that we are in the room, at the table, and part of the decision-making process on issues that impact us and our families. We need a strong voice to be part of the discussion and to remind this agency that we must look out for the needs of all Georgians, not just those at the top. I'm running because we need someone who is sensitive to our needs, reflective of our community, and ready to be the voice for families and businesses on critical issues that define our lives on the Georgia Public Service Commission. For more information on my campaign and how you can help me be successful on May 24th, please visit my website at electsheila.com, and that's SHELIA.com. Early voting has already started, and I want to leave you with one thing. For those who have not voted yet or don't vote, John Lewis was a mentor to me, and he and others were beaten to ensure that we could vote. So please get out and exercise your rights and vote. Again, hashtag Sheila E for PSC. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. I appreciate y'all, ladies, for giving me an hour and right at about 20 minutes of your time tonight. It is very important, but just remember that drive would have been a whole lot longer than that 20 minutes we're talking about. So as my dog will not allow me, because he must know I'm about to get off because he didn't came under my leg. And so he's let me know it's time for me to go. But in closing, what I always say upon these Zooms, traditionally, I'm not the one who leads them. Traditionally, I just close them out. But what I always close out with is this one comment right here. Georgia is 159 counties, not 10 counties, Metro Atlanta counties, or nothing like that. It's 159 counties. Each county is unique in its own form. It's got more county. I think we're the second most counties in the whole United States of America. I think Texas is the only one that got us beat. But it's so important for us to understand it's a multitude of different personalities, different comfort zones, different problems, different things that people have to deal with in the state of Georgia. And because of that, if we're not willing to start working together, we're going to be kept divided. And so I say these on these conversations all the time. South Georgia is just as important as any other area out there. The coast is just as important as any other area out there. The reason why I got so involved with the Public Service Commission seat is because when I moved from Atlanta and I moved to Savannah, Georgia, I didn't realize that Chatham County only had Georgia Power as its own electric company. Georgia Power is the only thing that we have as an option in Chatham County. And I never understood that until I started learning about the Public Service Commission. And so when I have these conversations to the 459,971 registered voters in the first congressional district, it is important that we have public service commissioners who are willing to move the narrative forward, not for those people in the economic status class that don't really have to worry about that bill, but those people who have to make a decision of paying the electric bill or paying a car note, or making sure that they have to have a cell phone or some kind of telecommunication going on. Or even when it comes to natural gas, and we still have people who have natural gas. Now, I don't have it personally, but there's still people out there, especially in rural areas, that still depend on natural gas. Understanding how important the Public Service Commissioner is to us is vital. And so I appreciate all four of y'all stepping forward to get into the gate as far as changing the narrative moving forward. And I can tell you by talking to those people here that it is an uphill battle, but I think that we can get into those seats and start changing the narrative for the state of Georgia. So like I said, ladies, early voting started, like someone said, early voting started yesterday, and May 24th, somebody's gonna be on the ticket to carry us all the way to November. And I wish everybody the best of luck. And this goes to everybody. If you need a voice down here in the first congressional district, I don't care who you are, I'm always going to help you out, because my thing is the more we get conversation out there in the community, the better we can do for our people. And so I'm gonna close with that. I thank y'all for giving me, I guess I talked for 4 minutes, an hour and 23 minutes of your time. And I'm going to get off of this thing so my dog can leave me alone. And I appreciate y'all taking the time. Y'all have anything else for me? If not, safe travels home. Thank you for taking the time to be with me wherever you're at.
Thank you,
Thank
Jay.
you so much, Jay.
Y'all
Good night,
ladies be
everyone.
safe.
Thank you.
Bye, Jane.
Bye-bye.